Alright, so here we've got the Rusty Keg. This is Wade Carmichael's new shortboard model. Pretty much what he rides on tour all year, and naturally it's built for hacking the ever-loving shit out of waves. This is about 1.5 inches shorter than my regular shortboard, and it's just got a little bit more width to it than a standard shortboard, and a little bit of thickness. Like you see in the tail here, it's just got a little bit of like chunk, which I think is how Wade is able to kind of deliver those just devastating blows wave after wave. I actually used to ride Rusty boards all through my childhood. I haven't had one in years, so I'm excited to get this thing in the water and see if they still got the magic.
You sort of look like a miniature Wade Carmichael. Really? You grew your beard out a little bit and then put on like a few... You gained like 100 pounds? No. Drank some beers.
A few beers would be good.
I think you have to drink a few beers before you ride that board.
Fuck. Yeah, I think you're right. First session on the Rusty Keg, all done, and I actually had some pretty interesting findings. Because of the way that Wade surfs, I really expected this board to just kind of like dig in and ride super hard on rail and go just like back into the pocket, but I actually found that it was a little bit like looser and more kind of like squirty than I expected. And then I kind of thought about it and I was like, oh, you know, the tail, if you look at it, is actually pretty wide and chunky. Like there's a lot here, at least for my board. This is a chunky tail. And I think that that really loosens the board up a lot. So I rode the Vapor Core F6s this session. They're kind of a standard template and they're a little bit on the stiff side because they're made of carbon. It's a super light fin, but they tend to be really sturdy. Actually, a couple times it felt a little bit like too slippery almost. I feel like I didn't quite have the traction that I wanted. Like it would do the turn, but then at the end it would feel like it would want to slide out. So I think what I'm gonna do next session is throw in a little bit bigger fin, a little bit stiffer fin, and like see if we can really get that kind of like big arc out of it that we see Wade doing all the time. was it. Kind of pumping waves. I ended up blowing most of them, which is pretty typical for me. I actually rode the Coffin Brothers fins today, and you can see here that like it's as raked out as it gets. Like you see how fine and long it is at the end here, and that is to make sure that you can hold into the wave as hard and as long as possible. So I felt that these actually did the board a lot more justice in being able to do a big turn, and they're really stiff too because they're made of fiberglass. So this is kind of like your just strong meat and potatoes fin that I really love. I think my main problem out there is that this board just doesn't have like a ton of rocker. Yeah, I was just finding that these waves are so sucky and cuppy that every time I go to do a turn, I'd have to like try to stomp on the tail to save it. Otherwise, I'd just be putting the nose under and going over. And I was kind of dealing with that a lot, but I still had a lot of fun out there. I got some like little mini tubes and tried to do some turns where I could. I'd actually love to try it in just kind of like a normal beach break. I think it would go insane. So I think we're gonna try to do that and just maybe get a few more waves on it to see its potential in a wave that's a little bit more like user-friendly. This is what this board is made for. I just went out there and had the best session that I've had in a really long time. Basically just felt so connected to this thing. I think that in the points that we were surfing it, the waves had so much push that, you know, this tail and everything else going on, like it couldn't quite dig in and grasp the wave as much as I needed it to. But in kind of like a playful, you know, chest to head high beach break that's not weak, but it's not super punchy either, it just seemed to go wherever I wanted. Like, whether it was on rail, off the lip, it was good for airs too. Like we're here now filming Stab High, and like I saw those guys and I got all excited. I was like, oh, I'll try a couple airs, and the board was just kind of sticking to my feet. The fins felt like the perfect kind of antidote to this thick, chunky tail. The tail allows you to kind of like plane over flat water and keep a lot of speed, and it allows you to get tight in the pocket and loose, but the fins grip in so that you're not sliding and slipping all over the place. I don't really think that I could pick a better board for conditions like this. Like it just seems like that perfect intermediate between a proper short board and something that you'd ride on an everyday basis. Overall, Rusty Keg, an absolute perfect beach break short board. I cannot wait to go bring it back out again. That's it. That's a wrap.